on a ticket, everyone. Oh. Right. Morning, afternoon, whenever. I've come to do my weekly shop. Actually, it will be a bit more than a week's worth of shopping today. I'm going to start with the disappointing stuff first, and then we'll move on to the yay stuff. Last of the fennel. Now, I'm just going to get rid of the roots. You can make soup from the roots. I've tried it, been there, done that. And weirdly, rather like the pea pod soup, it ends up tasting like mushroom. Don't know why, but I'm not going to bother this time because I've only got a couple of little plants. Oh, sorry, bang. Now, the fennel, pretty much the entire bed, and these two that I'm having were on their way as well. They've all bolted. I am massively disappointed. I can hardly tell you, because they were such beautiful, healthy looking plants back at the end of July. And then I pretty much haven't been in the garden again almost the whole of August. It's right at the end of August now. So I think one of two things may have happened, and I think this is generally my take in the garden every year is, you know, if something has disappointed me, try to figure out what went wrong. And make sure I fix that for next year. Likewise, when something goes really well, try and work out why did it go so well in order that I can then replicate that next year. With the fennel, I think that whole chunk of time I missed in August, I think they just got too dry. And because they were so dry, they got stressed, so they started going to seed. Possibly another consideration I've been thinking about is, were they a bit too close to each other? So next year, if I'm still here, I plan to start them again in modules as I did this year, because that worked brilliantly well. Plant them out as little plug plants, but give them a bit more space and just jolly well keep on top of watering if I can. Look, a chunk of that time that I missed in August, it couldn't be helped, my back went. Never mind. So all the others I removed a couple of days ago. Removed them, they're all chopped up, they're all in the compost bin. Oh, the thing is, I'm just going to chop some of the excess material out of here. I don't need it all. When they bolt, I find that sorry, I'm kind of multitasking. Hang on a tick. Bring that round forward so I can speak at the same time. Yeah, I just find that when they bolt, firstly, oh my God, they go so tough, so tough. It's just horrible. But also the flavour changes, and it's almost like, I think the smell, it sort of reminds me of antiseptic. It's just not nice. There's no point, well, at least I see it, you know, I'm not starving, so I can afford to end up with some food in the compost bin. You know, I'm not going to force myself to eat vegetables which are tough and which taste weird. Why would I do that? I've got a garden full of other good veg to eat. There are some veg when they go over, when they get a bit big, like the courgettes, that I will still use, of course. But it's more that the flavour changes. So, you know, it's only just started to bolt, but it already feels tough. Yeah, it already feels tough. So I'm going to take them home. I'm going to cut into them, and I'm going to see if they're worth cooking. Right, so that's the disappointing bit, but let's carry on with the shopping So what I'm planning to do today, with sharing with you all, is I'm going to do my shopping, get home, look at everything I've got, and come up with a meal plan using all this lovely produce. So that won't happen unless we get picking. So come on, let's get picking. One of the crops that has been an absolute storming success this year, the beetroot. As with the fennel, I'm actually just going to look for the biggest one because some of them are absolute stonkers. They're getting a bit too big. Yes, as with the fennel, there's two here. I want to leave one in place. Let's just bodge that soil up. Yes, as with the fennel, they were all started in modules. 1, 2, 3 per module, and then when each module sort of got to a size, I didn't need my trowel. They were just popped in the ground like plug pots. Oh my goodness! This one is too big. Now this one might be a bit tough. Crikey! That's another like I showed you the other day. Hold on a sec. This has got to be seen to be believed. I mean, look at the size of that monster. I have large hands. My hand is a size 8 in gloves, to give you some idea. I'm having a load out today because I'm also going to give a few to a friend who has expressed an interest. Oh, just in time. There was a little slug in the crevice. And I think there's one more in the front. But yeah, you can see, I mean, they've just been an absolute fab crop this year. Folk have asked me what I do to get good beetroot. Honestly, I don't do anything special. The bed was, sort of tickled over. It wasn't to a fine tilt, but it was certainly loosened up. I gave it a scattering of chicken manure, the dried chicken manure pellets, right back at the beginning of May. And that was it. Got these going in their little modules. They got planted out, I think it was in the second week of June or so. They were still quite tiddly. But yeah, that's been it for them. They haven't had any more feed. They had a bit of watering initially because we were hot and dry in June. But since then, I've hardly even watered them. I think that will do. I had planned to do a successional sowing of them to plug any gaps, but that all went wonky, so what's in the ground now has to do me for the rest of the year, but that will do with beetroot for now. What's next? Oh, I know what's next. Come with me to the other side of the garden. Time to have a cabbage out. Now, I did have the cabbages covered with nets, but I've got a sprout of broccoli there to have as well. Yeah, they were covered with nets, and then I moved the nets back one day. I think I was planting the little cavollos that were spare from Gary, some seedlings. It's a bit noisy with aeroplanes today, isn't it? But I wonder if it's different flight paths because there was some kind of air traffic control glitch yesterday, so maybe they're chucking them out in a different direction. Anyway, so I'd taken the nets off, went home, forgot to put the nets back on, and then the next thing you know, I wasn't here. So the cabbages are looking great. I'm just going to have this one out. It's not the best one. Ooh, I'm going to have the whole thing out. Hang on, let's chop it. Did I bring my rubbish bucket? Yeah. just sort of clearing up, composting as I go. Oh, chop that stalk. Well done, Falcos. Yeah, this isn't my best one. I mean, they all look great. Oh my goodness, it weighs a ton. Weighs an absolute ton. The reason I'm having this one out today is because I can see it's already had, let me show you close up. It's, oh, wonky knees. Can you see in there, it's already had some nibbles. So I think I've got some, a couple of baby snails. I've got a caterpillar in there somewhere, I think. But not to worry, it'll I'll find it. So I'm going to just get rid of the outer leaves while I'm here in the garden. One more off, yeah. I mean, I don't really want to take the critters home, but yeah, such is the life of an allotment here, of an allotment cook, as it were. Yeah, I mean, the number of times I've opened my fridge and found critters in the bottom drawer. But yeah, they've only gone in a little ways. That is a good solid chunk of cabbage. The one on the end, this one, it's even bigger and less damaged. Actually, that leaf can go too, and with it the snails. Okay, well we're in the courgette bed. Oh, I've just squashed a snail on myself. Honestly, I can't keep clean for even one day. That's what I was saying in that video about my iron blowing up, but the difference between me and my sister, she's always presentable and I'm always mucky. Yes, I'm in the courgette bed. Now, the other day, as part of this, let's get back on with things in the garden, let's try and prolong the harvest. I whipped off all the overgrown courgette. They're stacked up in this shed. Some of them will store there, but I'll have one of the big ones. But I think I've got a couple of smaller ones ready, and I'm now that I'm sort of back here, I want to stay on top of picking the smaller ones. If I can stay on top of it, hopefully the plants will keep producing. So let's go and grab a couple of courgettes. Oh, that's still a tiddler. Oh. Something I don't want to forget. Hang on. Oh, no. These are my gorgeous, most revered bean, my coco de Paimpol. I've missed the harvest with quite a lot of them. They've already started to go dry. Let me demonstrate. Dry. Can you hear rattling? I noticed this the other day and my heart sank a bit because I thought, no, because they are definitely best picked when they're still wet, as it were. And normally what I do is I just pod them and sling them in the freezer. Don't even blanch them, just pod them and sling them in the freezer, the beans. They taste so much better. The texture is so much better that way than reconstituted from dry. They still taste great from dry, but greater from wet. So yeah, my heart sank a little bit, and then I suddenly thought, oh, hang on a minute, I've already forgotten my own plan. And the plan this year is to save the majority of my beans dry. Oh, excuse me. Because, well, I've already gotten rid of the freezers, but because I didn't know where I would be, I didn't know if I would have, sorry, I've got an itchy nose. I didn't know if I would have moved already, and I might be going into a home that doesn't have a freezer, and I didn't have one, and so I'd already decided at the beginning of the season that I would do more storing as dry, which I will. However, I do want some fresh, and it looks like, if you remember, I need to do a much more thorough pick off camera. I struggle to concentrate when I'm, talking and picking. I lost my train of thought. Ah, yes. I did a second sowing because my first sowing got demolished by slugs. So I'm hoping that a lot of this second sowing, actually some of them are not quite ready. Let me show you a couple. Oh, you look perfect. Come to mama. Almost perfect. You see that one's still got a bit of green to it. That is more perfect when they're pretty much completely cream. But then, let me see if I've got a more obvious one. That's a bit of both. Can you see it starts to have a little bit of pinky purple spotting, streaking? Ultimately, look at it sideways on. You see how fat the beans are in there? That's when I want them. When those beans are at their fattest and juiciest. I think what we'll do, just for the purpose of today's video, I'm going to be back in the garden tomorrow anyway, because there's a lot, oh my goodness, there's a lot to do. Weeding, and suddenly all my paths are full of grass. Not those that you can actually see, but it's almost like someone's gone along all my soil paths with a carton of grass seed. I've never known anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. It's ridiculous. And it's not, I'll explain this properly maybe in the tour or something, but it's not grass that's come from my grass paths. Otherwise it would be in the beds. It would be in the bed first. Also, it's a completely different kind of grass. It's a really fine grass. My grass paths are mostly couch. I keep these. Oh yeah, so I'm going to do a much bigger pick, I think, tomorrow during my work session. I'll just do a little bit for today, for this meal planning. I've already got some ideas, of course. And let's see if I'm in time to get any of the lovely rocking core, because I think a lot of those dried too. But if I can rescue a few that are still moist, brilliant. Happy days. I mean, you've got to say it's happy days, squeak squeak, when you're bringing your harvest home in a wheelbarrow, eh? Yay! Park it, Vivi, park it. Suddenly turned a bit muggy. Right, well, I was going to do this next bit at home. I thought I would the walk home I could start meal planning, but I've already got thoughts, so might as well do it here. And also just to say, while I'm here, things like this dyed back beet leaf, any that are sort of really yellow and floppy, I'll chop those off here, they'll go straight in the compost. But any that have still got a bit of vigour to them, I will chop those up and chuck them in other dishes. I've just remembered I've got a load of chard, haven't I? Right, so I'm also thinking about some bits and bobs I've got at home that I can combine. So first of all, the obvious one is hopefully I can get a fennel risotto out of these two. They're not the best specimens ever. Oh, I'm hoping. If I can, that'll do 4 portions. I know that at home I have risotto rice. I've got a bit of butter. I don't have any white wine this time, and I'm not going to buy any specially. What else? I think I might have a bit of Parmesan in the freezer. So yeah, I'll pull that out of the freezer. But yeah, risotto. If I don't have the Parmesan in the freezer, I'll do it without. Fingers crossed. And if I do that, yeah, that'll be 4 portions, 4 meals. The cabbage. Oh, I can't wait to get stuck into the cabbage. So my first thought was cabbage pie. Oh, I love my cabbage pie. I'll put the card for the cabbage pie on the end of the video for those who've not seen it. It's dead easy, really basic, but it tastes so good. Pretty much everyone I've ever offered it to have thought, ooh, cabbage pie, you don't like the sound of that. But trust me, it's gorgeous. The only thing with that is, I would have to buy some ingredients. I'd have to buy some mushrooms. I would have to buy I'd probably get some ready-made puff pastry, or I'd have to buy flour and more butter to make pastry. But the big thing is I'd have to put the oven on. So I probably won't do that. Sorry about that, a little invasion. Yes, so, sorry, back to the cabbage. So probably won't do the pie, although I'd love to. Maybe I'll just do it as a treat. So if I don't do the pie, probably what's going to happen with it is, I reckon, 4 meals, I'll just take a quarter of the cabbage, shred it, just chop it up, steam it, just lightly steam it for sort of 3 or 4 minutes, just to take the rawness off, and also because I want it as a warm meal. And then, very simply, so simple, I will make with a load of my tomatoes. They're coming out my ears. Bear in mind as well, I have lots of tomatoes, and tomatoes au naturel and tomatoes made into a sauce in the freezer. So I've got plenty of tomatoes. So a tomato sauce with the beautiful coco de pampol beans in. Really simple meal, but I'll make that sauce really rich and tasty. So yeah, just steamed cabbage, tomatoes, beans, and it'll be a little warm mash-up. Oh, that would be gorgeous actually, and that will happily do me as a main meal. So that's 4 meals from the cabbage with that tomato bean sauce. I could also have with it, this is the, as opposed to, hoopla, all the beans are together, you can see that's the plump in there, coco de pampol. This is the beurre du roquefort, which, I think I've just caught in time. They might be a bit tough, but this is one that I eat for the whole pod, not just the beans. So again, a little light steam, and I can chuck those in with that cabbage and tomato beaniness. Or I could have these plus some coco de pampol. Plus, I've got beans in the freezer still from last year, some gigantes, or have I used them up? Some broad beans. I can do a, bean salad. I think I'll do a bean salad. Coco de pampol, just the bean. The beurre du roquefort, the whole pod. Some broad beans from earlier this year that are in the freezer, and maybe some chickpeas in that. Or remove the chickpeas and do a bit of brown rice with it that'd be a really hearty salad. And then that's a protein punch as well. Good. Then I've got that beautiful courgette I've harvested and just put my fingernail in, plus one of my giants. So the giant, I think I've got 2 potatoes at home. That's why I should have done it at home, because I think I've got 2 potatoes at home, so that will be soup. That will make 4 portions of soup for lunches. Also for lunch, of course, koriatiki, my Greek salad. I've got half a block of feta left. I've got a cucumber left. so some more tomatoes. So I'll easily get, actually I've got another cucumber. I think I can have 4 Greek salad lunches, 4 courgette soup lunches, and 4 bean and rice salad lunches, 12 lunches. That's what I'm saying, this is more like 2 weeks worth of food. What else have we got? Oh, of course, the beet burgers, of course. I've picked some for a friend as well, don't forget. Yeah, it's going to be beet burgers. I'm really, really enjoying beet burgers at the moment. Oh, and with the tomatoes, I could make a tomatoey, not quite tomato ketchup, but like a sort of a tomatoey, sort of salsa-y, relishy thing to put with my beet burgers. Oh yes. So I think, look, I could easily have 2, 4, 6, 8. If I make 8 beet burgers, that's 4 meals. I'll have 2 per meal, because I'm talking about main meals in the evening now. So I'll have 4 beet burger meals, 4 cabbage and bean concoction meals, 4 fennel risottos, hopefully. So that's 12 evening meals as well. So, yeah, that pick today, combined with at home, I will use up, I think, 2 potatoes. I'll use some brown rice, I'll use some risotto rice, a couple of portions of beans from the freezer, the broad beans. I decided against the chickpeas, didn't I, in favour of some rice. Yeah, so minimal store cupboard raiding. I've got a little bit of flour left for my beet burgers. I've got a bit of butter for the risotto, so that will do. Yeah, sorted. And I've got plenty of herbs and spices. Oh, and importantly, I think I've got 3 red onions and 4 white onions at home. In other words, apart from the 2 purchases I could make, I just salivated at the thought of it, and I think I will make, because otherwise this is a 0 spend fortnight, actually. So I think I will make 2 purchases. I'm going to get some feta for the Greek salad and some parmesan for risotto. By the way, I should just say, when I say parmesan, I don't mean parmesan. Parmesan's one of those foods, it's an appellation contrôlée, that's French. It's a designated area title type thing. You know, like cheddar cheese can only be called cheddar if it's from Cheddar Gorge in the UK. Like the Coco de Paimpol, strictly speaking, these are Coco de South East London. The thing about Parmesan, if real Parmesan is not vegetarian. It's not vegetarian. It uses rennet. Rennet is used to harden it. So of course, when I'm talking about Parmesan, I'm talking about knockoff, as in Sainsbury's do one. I think most supermarkets do them these days, and they will call it something like Italian style hard cheese. That's how they get around it. So yeah, don't worry. I know someone got concerned when I made that pea risotto back in the summer, about early summer, saying, oh, but Parmesan's not vegetarian. I know, that's why I don't use it. I use Parmesan-alike. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, I'll make 2 purchases. So the Parmesan's going to be about, if I haven't got any in the freezer, I'll check in the freezer, because what I do, because I don't use it that much, I don't use it a lot, I don't use it often, when I get one of those, you know, it comes like in a wedge shape, generally I'll cut it into 3 pieces, put a couple in the freezer, have 1 in the fridge. If I haven't got any in the freezer and I have to buy it, it's about £3.50, I think. Treat, eek. And the feta is about a quid. Lidl do a Greek type feta for about a quid. So yeah, I could do a £5 shop, less than, food for 2 weeks. I keep I keep salivating. Right, I think that's enough chat, isn't it? I've got to get this little lot home. And yeah, just start tucking into it and enjoying it. And you know, just the last word as I prepare to pack up and leave. So excuse me. Literally twice within 5 minutes of me sort of on my way to the allotment. One was outside in the park. I was chatting to a lady who I often see. She walks her dogs, and today there was one less dog, and I thought, oh no, I hope the other dog's all right. And I said to her, I said, oh, hi, is the little dachshund okay? She said, oh yeah, she's been lazy. She doesn't want to come out for a walk. But we got chatting, and I said I was on my way to my allotment to do my weekly shopping, and you know, she was saying, oh, you lucky thing. I was like, yeah, I really am lucky to have the space. But she was telling me about her gardening at home, fruit trees, and you know, she's like, oh, I'm going to be making my plum jam, and then we got to chatting about how, you know, it's quite hard work. It's a lot of work, and it's a big commitment growing your own. And, you know, by golly, coming back at the end of August and seeing the weeds and that grass in my paths, it can be so disheartening. And, oh. But whenever it's a bad day in the garden, whenever it's those days in the very early spring or through winter, end of autumn, when it's cold and wet and, oh, it just seems like too much of an effort to get to the garden, never mind tend it. These are the days that we have to hold in our mind. These are the days when, I know tons of you do it too, we photograph our little harvests. We photograph our harvests, we share them on Facebook and Insta and all that kind of stuff. It's great having these photographic records, because then when you are having a dismal winter and you need to get down to your garden to attend to something, look at the photos of your harvests and remember what it's all about. Quite simply, it's about getting all this gorgeous food, isn't it? So I was chatting to that lady in the park, and then came into the allotment site, and literally I'd hardly stepped through the gate and I bumped into one of my plot neighbour friends. And she said, oh, you know, what are you up to today? And I said, I'm just coming to harvest today. I've got some jobs to do, but ostensibly it's harvesting because I can't face the weeding yet. And we had exactly the same conversation as I'd had 2 minutes ago in the park about, yeah, the work, but oh boy, the food, the reward. This is all going to taste so good, so fresh, so yummy. So I'd better get it home, hadn't I? Right, all right, lovelies, thank you so much for hanging out with me in the garden today. And, or should I say, thanks for coming shopping with me. Oh, my head's itchy, everything's itchy today. I think it's that kind of, it's damp weather. I need to cut my hair. My hair's getting a bit long. Not damp weather, muggy, what's it called? Humid. It's humid. Yes, thank you for coming shopping with me today. And I hope as well, because people often say, oh, Vivi, can you share your frugal meal planning? I don't really have a set way of doing it. I don't have a set menu. I just make whatever I fancy based on what I've either got fresh in the garden, or, you know, what I've got stored under the bed, in the back of the wardrobe, or in the freezer still. I just have a look at what I've got and think, right, what shall we make out of it? Also, just to say, sorry, very quickly now, beet burgers, cabbage pie, fennel risotto, Greek salad, anything else? Borscht, beetroot soup. All of those things I'm going to be making in the next couple of days to last me a fortnight. All of those recipes I've already made videos of. So if you look in the kitchen section, and if you go right back to the beginning, there's about 25 videos there in total. But if you go right back to the beginning, start at the beginning, you can see all my different recipes, loads of soups. I love soups, but the cabbage pie, the risotto, they're all... Oh, I just thought of something else with the cabbage really quickly. I could make a curry. I've got squash from last year still stored. I could use one of those potatoes. I've got a tin of chickpeas. That's why I keep mentioning the chickpeas. A squash and some chickpeas, and make a curry. Steam the cabbage separately, but then I can have my curry and that cabbage together. Oh, good strong flavours together, yummy. And if I make up a batch of brown rice to have with the curry, I can use the leftover rice, cooled down, cool your rice quickly, cool down to go with my bean salad for lunches. Yes, that's it. Anyway, the point I was trying to make is all those recipes are there. Give them a go. They are all my recipes are dead easy, simple in terms of ingredients, and I mean most of them are probably only 5 or 6 ingredients. And just by nature of the fact that I cook based on my garden, most of that stuff is stuff that you'll grow in your garden too in terms of the ingredients. There's nothing fancy. It's just good, humble, honest, peasant food from the garden, but it's tasty and it fills you up. Right. I'm off home to do some cooking. Cheerio, lovelies. Oh, and happy harvesting and happy cooking.